Hello again, and before any of you say anything, I know, a third Jutland video? Yes, well, I've been enjoying it, and many of you watching this will have already heard some of my rants and stuff about how awesome this line is and how I can't believe I haven't ground it out yet. But I did have a really, really good game. Of course, it was the next game after my last video where I was like, oh, 3 kills, 100k damage, not bad. Yeah. Well, this one is a little bit better. But I also wanted to go into a little bit more detail about the build, captain modules, that kind of a thing, because I really didn't do any of that in the last video. So, start off with consumables. You all have heard me say it, premium. That's all. But it is in particularly useful for the smokes and the hydro and getting them back up quicker. So for the modules, apparently I don't have the range yet, but anyway, main armaments mod 1 for slot 1 because what else? And despite their module changes recently, they didn't make the first slot any more competitive for what you take, really. Second slot is engine room. Well, again, you kind of in a DD, and light cruisers only have one choice here. The fires and floodings duration isn't that important for you. Third slot is torpedo tubes mod 1. I have said that in my personal opinion and how I choose to play, this is a torpedo primary line. But this actually, the replay coming up is a little bit better example of the guns. Fourth slot, steering gears, again, same thing. DDs need that, battleships need the other one. And now this one, you actually have some options. But I do go with concealment, primarily because this combined with the captain skill you'll see in a minute gets you down to 5.7. And you'll see here, yep, this is with the captain too, but 5.7 is within 1/10 of a kilometer of the lowest detection, so you're competitive with everything. I don't know why I have gunfire control. Maybe it's because I didn't have range yet. I'm gonna switch this out because there's no good reason for me to have this and not the torpedo tubes mod 2. But so you know, this replay is with this build though, so I do have a bit of extended range, and it's actually somewhat relevant because I do try to showcase the guns a little bit more, especially with regards to IFHE changes and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and actually switch these out now. But yeah, so obviously the replay is from before I make this switch, so the numbers will vary a little bit. And let's see, yeah, okay, and that's reasonable. You're not really spamming a lot at long range in these, trying to stay concealed more often than not. So the gun range isn't the worst thing in the world, but obviously I haven't built for it yet. But since I just took that off, I might as well add the mod here and boost myself up another kilometer. Yep, okay, 12.5. So now, for some reason, despite wanting to go to the captain skills, I decided to pointlessly show flags and camo. So bear with me for a second here. Now I get to it. A lot of these are obvious. We've all talked about it before. Priority target, because always priority target. In a DD, you do lose a lot, especially these guys, so preventative maintenance is the other 1-point skill I take. Same thing as I just said, last stand. All very relevant as you are inclined to lose your engine and steering. I might go with adrenaline rush after this, but I'm not sure yet. Superintendent, extra hydro, extra heat, or extra smoke, perfect. Now we come to the IFHE. Does it hurt? No. But with that 4 points, concealment expert and RPF, you really, really are a in close knife fighting competitive threat from just about any other DD. You do still have to be mindful of radar, of course, but there obviously is other viability builds that you could go with here, but this is kind of the one I like and the way I choose to use it. So we get to the battle. I will fully concede right now if you want to skip ahead about 4 minutes. um, Feel free, because quite literally, at least for me in the battle, nothing happens. There's a few little things positionally that I do that might be debatable whether it's good or bad. It worked out really well for me in this battle, and I'll describe my thought process as I was going through it. Right here, a little glitch. I was actually uh, chatting with JB while I was making this vid, and there's a funny little thing I'll point out when we get to it. Um, so because my concealment is what it is, there no CV in this game, which is awesome. I choose off the bat not to dive right into a cap, so I know that they have a Fletcher and another Jutland, and obviously they're going to be very competitive with me in the concealment arena, but uh, also a threat in a gunboat sense from enemy destroyers. So I didn't want to dive in and run the risk of finding myself nose to nose with either the Jutland or the Fletcher. Um, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it's the Jutland. And I have that suspicion because it is the center cap. You do require the sneakiest of sneaky to get it early, but most importantly, if I wasn't doing what I was doing right now, I'd be doing that. I would be going full steam for it. So all of those thoughts kind of coalesce a little bit into me making the decision right about here to get myself within torpedo range of the larger, longer island that tips into B. And I'm going to sit right here once I'm in range. And I obviously have to wait about 25 seconds now for my torpedoes. But then also, despite RPF pointing there, I don't have them flipping the cap yet. So I just sit. There is no threat to me. I don't bother using Hydra. There's no torpedo threat. I mean, it's kind of long range, but also another thing that's handy to kind of keep in mind is what friendly ships are around you that might be themselves drawing torpedoes. And just little thing to keep in in the back of your head, and you might end up being surprised a little bit less. As you can see here, I throw my single launch and I cover that entire gap. Now my guess is that whoever it is will sit there in the first part of the cap. And sure enough, 1 second after my torpedoes are gone, the RPF flips and lets me know that they're moving west or north through the cap. So most likely a wasted set. The smoke screen was a bit of a giveaway as well. So I decided to turn back in since they're kind of coming this way now. The enemy DD, again, looking at the composition of my team and what we know of the enemy team, they're either getting ready to get out of the cap, headed west, or they're snuggling up to that island. And since my RPF, I'm trying to follow it here, kind of continues, I'm guessing it's the first. He's looking to get the cap and then get out. Right here, I hit my Hydra, or I hit my Hydra a few seconds ago, because this gap right here that I'm going into is similar to the gap I myself just torped. So it wasn't unreasonable for me to think that torps might be coming. Plus, again, like I just pointed out, I have some friendly ships behind me that maybe he'd want to throw torps at. So my thoughts were confirmed. It is the Jutland. He is leaving, which is perfect. Now, this is another thing I wanted to highlight. Letting them take B right off the bat. You could argue against it. You could argue it should be contested. You shouldn't just grant anything to the enemy. But pay attention. Once I let him take it, he's unopposed. He has nothing really to fear. Maybe he spotted my torps. But he starts moving away, and I start taking the cap. Pay attention to how long we hang on to it after I get it second from them. So now, using RPF a bit, and the last known of the enemy Jutland, and the fact that I'm taking the cap, he will probably not get back in before I take it, but maybe he does. Where is he going to go? So I'm guessing he will either end up somewhere right around there in the cap or enter the cap from that direction. Don't get rid of all my torps. Just, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just to try and cover the gap. And cap taken. So I decided to move out. And very, very, very similar to the first set of torps I shot in this game. Where looks good now. RPF is promising. And there it goes. So, almost 2 full volleys of wasted torps. We are 5-ish minutes into the game, and really, other than a cap exchange, I haven't been doing much, and I think I get a little bit antsy right here. And so I decided to start using the guns and figure, alright, well, this is going to be the type of game where I gotta make my presence felt at minimal risk. Also notice the timing of the smoke and the timing of the torpedoes that I shot. It's not exact, but that's one of the things I do try to utilize with the short duration smokes, saving them until they can kind of sync up with my torpedoes. Enemy Fletcher pops up, so holy cow, here they all come. He is obviously a priority target. I take a salvo and set him on fire. That's nice. Shoot the torpedoes at the Sharn. Notice how short I shot them, because I'm 90% certain he's going to turn hard back in towards B. Take some pot shots at the enemy Jutland. Now, again, that's one of those things. I'm not looking to kill him. I knew I was going to be relatively safe. I had the cover of this island, and the Jutland shooting back at me was unlikely. But that wasn't for me to do so much damage as much as it was to get them to turn out, turn away, stop pressing the cap. And for whatever it's worth, whether that's the reason or not, that's the end result. So I cycled back around, trying to come help our Leon here with the Scharnhorst. And I don't have a tremendous amount of fear right here being detected, but I do have a yeah, you know what kind of moment that was. And I still had almost a minute on my hydro. Those are definitely Fletcher torps. They would have the range. Whew. Thank you, Leon, for spotting those, because I probably would have eaten or been killed. Get a nice, fortunate fire right at the end on the Scharnhorst, and there goes kill number 1. That's perfect. I know he's got torps too, but they're relatively short range. They do give me a scare here in a second, but note this Musashi, because it will not be the last time you see me having annoying interactions. Okay. It's off and on, and right about here, though I want to, again, deter the push, try and get the Musashi to turn back out. I notice the push coming from due west, coming around that island. So I try to get myself in a position here to maybe throw a couple at the Musashi, but really start paying attention to defending against that north push in the west by the enemy. But while I'm at it, while I'm here, I don't mind that they know I'm here. I do kind of want it to be a deterrent. And, you know, get a good look at the damage and the fire chance of these guns without IFHE or Demo Expert. So right here, I do have the Azumo lined up, because the Alsace was moving way too fast. And this was the first in a series that's going to continue through the rest of this game. I talk a big game about single launch torps, and I can't quite determine if the end results of this game are an argument for or against them. But notice Friesland pops up immediately. Immediately when I saw the Friesland pop up on my minimap, he became my priority. And I get real lucky right there and knock out his engine just in time. So that's one torp for a kill. And absolutely unquestionably, lucky. I didn't know he was coming that way, and I got lucky to shoot at him and knock his engine out when I did. He might have been able to dodge it had that not been the case. But that torp spread, I did end up hitting 2 on the Izumo, and all 3 of the torps that hit were the last 3 torps that I shot. So just keep that in mind, kind of going forward. I do feel the need to fall back. The Friesland's dead, and that's great, and that he was a huge threat. Now it's just the battleships and a Fiji somewhere out there. But this is a part of what I do with this line. You make your presence felt, you go in, shoot a bunch of stuff, torp a bunch of stuff, use your short smoke, and be getting out of there. It's not exactly an oh shit smoke. It obviously can be used for that. But you make your presence felt, you get in, you use your smoke, you go undetected, and you use your great concealment to reset and reposition. And then show up somewhere else where guns probably aren't pointing to do what you do. Now, the enemy has taken B back, and there's a couple of times right here where it's my intent to get back in there. Glad I didn't, because the Jutland was there and I would have been face to face with him. Not that it couldn't have gone my way if I did, but that was, after the Friesland's gone, the biggest threat to me. Smoke generator started. Love these short smokes. I see an opportunity with the Richelieu coming at us. First 4 well ahead. I think he'll turn out. And then first 5. And it looks like he's going to continue. Now what ends up happening with these, again, be mindful. Might as well use my smoke. Fire the guns. He does turn hard back in, which accidentally threw my first set more in line, more on track. And you'll see 1 torp hit. So I'll put it together if you're not already kind of getting it near to the end of the video about my argument for or against the single launch. But I decided he's close enough to dead now, might as well work him with the guns. He's French too, so you can do a fair amount of damage with HE. But all the time, my positioning is being mindful of the Musashi over there, the Jutland that had moved west/north, and then the Izumo that actually can hit me. And I didn't go in to be there because the Musashi was pushing. And yes, I could have probably hugged up against that island, but I felt like I would be more effective out here doing this kind of thing and giving myself a position to maybe torp. Musashi, yet again. Here I come, buddy. You've hated me this whole game. The Jutland pops up when I was targeted, and I will be targeted again. I think it was the Jutland shooting at me, which I hate to downplay an element of the very ship I'm highlighting right here, but at long ranges against the DD, I don't fear British as much. Obviously, right now I'm undetected. You'll see what I mean when my smoke fades, because Mushi's getting low enough that I feel a little more ballsy, in combination with if you're paying attention to the game, despite the enemy having had 2 caps for some time now. We are very much in control, and it allows me to be a little bit more brazen. Okay, example number 3. Now, this I can tell you with absolute certainty is an argument to me for single launch torps. So I didn't mark the time, but from beginning to end, that launch took about 10 seconds. Now, you might be wondering what the difference is. Not only was I able to single, like generally shoot them all at the same area, but I was able to fire torps over 10 seconds. Which, with normal torpedo spreads, you have 2 moments where you're firing torpedoes. There we go. Got the Arsonist and the kill with, again, one torp. Got a little greedy there and was hoping for a double strike, but he got killed a little too quickly for me. So you basically are able to adjust more accurately with single launch torps over a course of 10 seconds, as opposed to normal salvos where you just get 2 seconds. 2 separate seconds to make the decision on where you want your torps to be and when. If I had switched to AP sooner here, this Jutland would probably be dead right now. That was absolutely a wonderful gift of him to just sit there and let me basically kill him. But a mistake on my part. I should have used AP. He would have been dead already. No matter. I get him anyway, and the enemy is down to 1 last ship. So we're pretty comfortable. It is at this point, well, that I noticed I had 4 kills, but then also noticed the torpedoes. Hooray! Example for the Hydro. That probably would have been dead right there without it. And it allowed me to be more aggressive. My torpedoes reload. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's getting low, so I'm shoot, damn it, shoot too. But I was lucky and got a kill and the Kraken with 1 torpedo hit. So I'll show you real quick the end screens. It doesn't matter. Kraken, Arsonist, whatever the other one is. So my argument or my contemplation here with this is, with torpedo spreads, you're likely to get a single torp hit in a spread, especially if the enemy sees them and can dodge them. So considering the fact that my kills happen the way that they did, or even my torpedo hits in general, is that all set an argument for or against single launch? I'm inclined to think for, but point is, I throw that out there to you guys, let you chew on it a little bit. I hope you enjoyed. Everyone enjoy their day. Stay safe.